Hello everybody, my name is Rain. This is a bit of a different video than what I normally do, and I'm glad to show off my creative process while I talk about something that means a lot to me. Just as an intro to anyone who might be stumbling upon this video with no idea who I am, I'm an artist, writer, and variety gaming YouTuber / content creator, but you can call me Rain. I am also a huge Markiplier fan, and unfortunately, notably, a coward. I am afraid of everything. This will be important later. I bought my tickets to see Iron Lung just over a month ago at my local theater, and from the start I knew that Iron Lung would be just the sort of movie that ekes me out, but I wanted to show my support for Markiplier and all the wonderful people who had worked so hard to create this film. Let this be a lesson to me. Iron Lung was without a doubt the epitome of a dead dove do not eat situation. If you do not understand what I mean by that, the term dead dove do not eat refers to a scene from the show Arrested Development in which a character sees a bag marked dead dove do not eat. He then opens the bag and is disgusted to see that there is indeed a dead dove inside the bag and declares, "Oh, didn't know what I expected."
No, I don't know what I expected.
In many fandom spaces, this term has been used often in the fanfiction community on AO3 to tag certain content saying, "Hello, this content contains these specific content warnings. If you read this even though you're uncomfortable with these content warnings, don't say I didn't warn you." And that's kind of the gist of it. Now, I'm not going to go over any major spoilers, out of respect for people that might want to see the movie and out of respect for Mark, who has asked us not to spoil things. But this is just a basic synopsis. Even if you want to avoid that, please skip to the timestamp on screen. Iron Lung is written and directed by Mark Fishbach, and based on the video game of the same name by David Szymanski. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, and I'm so sorry if it's not. It is a cosmic psychological horror about a convict who is welded inside of an iron submarine sent to a desolate moon to explore the depths of its blood ocean. But the moon is not exactly desolate, and the convict's desperation for survival is slowly lost as he drifts into insanity. That is about as much as I will get into it with the plot, as I do want this review to remain mostly spoiler-free. But that being said, I knew that from the start. I knew that from the trailer, I knew that from the very first glimpse at the concept of the game. I knew what I was getting into. Massive ocean, unknown what lies in its depths, certainly wouldn't trigger my thalassophobia, right? And it's an ocean of blood. I can handle blood, right? Yeah, I can definitely handle blood. The possibility of giant creatures that are lurking within the ocean's depths, now that could totally trigger my megalophobia, and I do tend to have a heightened sense of anxiety in small spaces, leading me to believe that I might also have claustrophobia, so the idea of Mark's character being welded into a submarine might bring that out too. Well, as long as there's no loud noises like thunder in it, right, then I should be fine. It's almost as if this movie was meant to scare me specifically. I'm afraid of pretty much every single piece of content that this movie would seemingly be about. But I persisted. I would see this movie and I would support my favorite celebrity and his friends and family, and funnily enough, sorry if this is gross, but you are watching a video about a review of a movie that has the Guinness World Record for most fake blood used. I woke up on the day of the movie's release to discover that I was on my period. Yay! I can't believe Mark and I are synced up. Isn't that cool? This is important context for the Speedpaint, trust. The day had come for me to ready up and see Iron Lung in theaters, and just earlier that week I had finished sewing myself this burgundy headdress, kind of like the one that I'm wearing in the Speedpaint, which inspired me to try and put together an Iron Lung inspired cord. However, with all of my physical ailments, as mentioned previously, I wasn't really feeling all that up to going to a theater in a full-blown EGL coordinate, especially when I don't actually own all of that much in real life. So to make my vision come to life, I was inspired to make this Speedpaint. So the Speedpaint, for context, is just what I would have liked to wear to the Iron Lung release. Because I'm an artist, and if I don't have the chance to wear the clothes I want to in real life, my internet persona can wear them, and I can just draw them on. So while I did instead opt for my Unisana sweatshirt, I enjoyed the artistry of drawing this piece, which is a self-portrait in Iron Lung-inspired attire. And for an independent debut film, Iron Lung by far exceeded my expectations. Mark has made other theatrical projects. I didn't really see the entirety of Edge of Sleep, and I actually, don't really enjoy Mark's acting for In Space or Who Killed Markiplier. The style is so over the top and corny, and I just did not like it. So that was kind of what I was expecting Iron Lung to be like, so I was a bit nervous going into the movie, but Mark's acting was actually outstanding compared to his other projects. It wasn't perfect, but it was far better than what I would expect. Genuinely on par with any other actor that I've seen recently. And the cinematography was the best I've seen in a long, long time. If there is anything to take away from this movie, it is the cinematography. It was stunning, amazing, very well done. Seeing familiar names and faces in the end credits really made me smile, laugh, and almost tear up at times, so this was a very incredibly well-made and well-loved project, and I am nothing but proud for the people who worked on it. but it was also extraordinarily terrifying. If you're a horror fan, you may say that I'm being a bit of a baby when I say that I was so terrified at this film, but as I said earlier, it touched on exactly everything that invokes dread and fear into my very soul. Not to mention, of course, my emotions were all over the place that day. The thing is, I've seen horror movies before, and I actually really love psychological horror. I have never felt this much fear from watching a movie as I had leaving the theater after watching Iron Lung. It was so well made that it had me, a 23-year-old who, again, kind of enjoys psychological horror, afraid to go to sleep that night. No horror movie has ever had that effect on me. My mental health genuinely could not take it, and I'm being serious, I'm not exaggerating. Genuinely could not take it. I was so angry at Mark for making a movie that made me feel so horrendously sick afterward. And that is why I think it is very important to say that if you think your anxieties will be triggered by the content of the movie, don't watch it, even if it was directed by your favorite person in the world. Your mental health is far more important. Overall, after I got over myself and out of my head, I relaxed and thought about an actual critique of the film. Since I wanted to do the Speedpaint anyway, even before seeing the film, I thought, hey, why not use a review of the movie as the voiceover? So here are my final thoughts on what I have to say about the movie. One of the best of its genres, and exceeding my expectations for a first feature film from an independent company, far beyond what I could have ever imagined. For me, it's a 10 out of 10. It will rightly take its place as my favorite horror movie. But I understand that I am incredibly biased as a huge Markiplier fan, so I'm going to go over what I see most of the critics saying, and kind of give my own response to that, like they know anything. The biggest critique that I've seen so far is of the pacing and the runtime, that the movie is boring or slow or could be cut down. I do agree to some extent, but I am sympathetic. This is Markiplier's first full-length film, his baby, you know? How do you cut down more of your child? I completely understand why the decision was made to keep in certain shots that many critics are saying could have been cut out. These beautiful, slow, artistic views of the tiny set that is the Iron Lung submarine. From a storytelling standpoint, sure, they could have been cut out for a more concise runtime, but from an artist's eyes, every detail that went into creating that set and making sure the shot was captured and at the best angle, I totally understand. However, the 2 hour and 7 minute runtime is maybe a bit much. I'm not the world's biggest fan of the norm that movies should just be long for the sake of it. If you can get the job done in an hour and a half, then so be it. And as I was having my horror-filled experience, there were times when I was begging for the movie to be over because I did not want to suffer what I was seeing any longer. But overall, after it ended, I think the runtime was fine. Like, a little shorter might have been better, but it wasn't the biggest deal to me. I think the critics who say that it was too slow or too boring of a movie have gotten used to the high-stakes action all the time. The situation most certainly called for the slow burn. It's a movie about a single guy in a submarine. I found it way more action-packed and full of entertainment than I expected. Also, in addition to the whole concept of being confused about the plot of the movie, I don't know if I'm just a genius or something, but I got it immediately. I watched this movie once and completely picked up exactly what was being put down, and a lot of people I see are like, I need to watch the movie again because I don't know what happened in it. Sure, go and support the movie again, by all means, do that, but I don't really want to spoil, so I can't exactly explain everything out to you all. But how is anyone confused? I see a lot of people making quote-unquote theories, something that I actually kind of want to make another video essay about. They don't even know the meaning of the word. And their theory is just something that happens on screen but might have gone over your head the first time. That's not a theory, that's just close reading. I've also seen critiques on the movie being boring or repetitive in the dialogue. There are several moments, again, not trying to spoil, just a simple dialogue thing, where the convict, the character that Mark is playing, mutters, "Fuck me, fuck this," pretty often, and critics have been annoyed with this. They're like, this is unrealistic dialogue. I find this to be a really silly critique, because this is pretty realistic dialogue for this sort of situation. There was one scene in the movie, I will not say which, obviously, where I found myself muttering in the theater, what the fuck, 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 to myself in the theater. So I don't think it's unlikely that a person in this situation would, as their mind is unraveling before them, mutter those words. The other really stupid critique that I'm seeing is that it's a little too video game-like, which I have found outrageously stupid of a critique. Have you ever seen a movie adaptation of a video game? There will always be moments in which it feels like a video game, because it's based off of a video game. And honestly, I didn't really get that vibe, that it was very video game-centric. The story was very creative and quite separate from the game itself, but it paid its homages where they were due. I've also seen some people complain that the audio wasn't well balanced in the movie, which I think might be a theater issue, because my viewing of it was just fine. But I've seen a lot of people disappointed that there's not enough gore for a horror movie, but do you know that gore isn't a key feature of horror? Like, I think that's a thing that I'm noticing in the critiques, is that they're like, it's not the horror that I'm used to, so therefore it's not a horror at all. And I've seen a lot of people be surprised that it's a psychological horror and not a, like slasher film. It's like, that's not at all what it's supposed to be. I don't know. I think a lot of people's expectations based off of these reviews saying that the genre is this, the genre is that, are completely twisting what they would actually expect out of the movie. Lastly is the critique that this movie will only ever be interesting to Markiplier fans, and this is where I will say my final verdict. No, this is not true at all. It will be interesting to anyone who is intrigued by the genre and plot. I am a huge Markiplier fan, as I've stated, and I did not enjoy the experience of watching this movie at all because of the way it triggered my exact fears. I watched it for Markiplier, but it did not intrigue me because it was Markiplier. If you like psychological horror, if you like cosmic horror, sci-fi thrillers, all those sort of things, you will like this movie. It's a pretty good movie for its genre. You do not need to know the game or know Markiplier to watch it. I've also seen critiques from fans that are disappointed that there aren't any Markiplier references in the film, to which I say, why would there be? It's not a movie about Markiplier, it's an adaptation of a video game that he came to love. Besides, did you hear how many times that man was talking about fairness? That's a Markiplier's promise. It is a great film for what it is. It's not perfect, and that's okay, because it is better than so many other movies that have come out as of late. I myself find it highly disappointing that most movies these days are remakes, sequels, or adaptations. I mean, even Iron Lung is an adaptation after all, but there was such love and creativity poured into this film that I don't think it matters if it's not perfect or it doesn't exceed your expectations. It's still a really good movie. The last thing that I want to say, this is a little odd but rather personal, but I just can't get it out of my mind ever since watching this film, is that for the past couple of years, since about 2020 I want to say, I have been writing the manuscript to a sci-fi dystopian with some horror elements. It's a novel that one day I would hope to publish. At its very first conception, I was inspired very loosely, and I want to emphasize very loosely, by the video game GTFO, especially the YouTube playthrough of the game by Markiplier, Myskirm, Lord Minion 777, and Jacksepticeye, as well as other dystopian novels, of course, I was very inspired by. But all these elements sort of came together to create what my manuscript to my novel that I'm working on is. And I found it so shocking to see Mark act in Iron Lung as a character that I found to be quite similar to the protagonist of my novel. Again, no spoilers for either Iron Lung or my novel. Even if the character has changed drastically since the novel's conception, it still feels right up Mark's alley, and it was just very funny to see, I guess, and maybe that's parasocial of me to say. Well, Mark, if you ever want to participate in another film, maybe we could make a film adaptation of my novel when it comes out one day. I genuinely do think it would be right up his alley. It was very similar to what I saw in Iron Lung. I'm gonna sue him for intellectual theft. Also, fans of Miracle Musical and/or Tally Hall, did anyone else get a Hawaii Part 2 vibe from Iron Lung? I know it's not that crazy to draw connections from them considering they both cover similar themes, but I just cannot stop thinking about this. All in all, if you're a fan of Markiplier and/or can handle a psychological test of cosmic horror, you should definitely see this movie. To fully enjoy this movie, don't be like me. Don't see this movie just because you're a fan of Markiplier. Support in whatever way you want, but don't subject yourself to horrors you don't want to see, because this movie is very upfront about its content, and don't be surprised when you find a dead dove that you do not want to eat. I'm so glad that I never have to see this movie again, but I'm so glad that I did. I also want to reiterate just how proud I am of the team that brought this movie together. For an independent studio to do this, it's inspiration for me and so many others who are also independent creators. This is exactly what I want to do. Markiplier is exactly who I want to be. If you are like me and you are very scared by these sorts of things, so you are kind of nervous about seeing the movie, there are other ways that you can show your support. I believe Mark organized a blood drive. I think it was just for the day of release, but if you're able to donate blood, it's really important to do that right now, so I would highly encourage you to do so. I myself am considering doing it. I don't think I can do it right now because I have issues with my blood and I'm not feeling so great right now, so probably would have to wait a couple of weeks before I actually would do it, but I'm considering doing it, and I'm a little bit afraid of needles, so yet again I'm subjecting myself to horror, but I'm the bravest person in the world, I think. I hope you all enjoyed the speed paint. I'm gonna post the full completed piece on my other social media, so be sure to check it out if you like, subscribe for more lore, and check out my channel if you'd like. Like I said, this isn't my usual content, but who knows, maybe I'll do more stuff like this in the future. Bye bye!